I want to talk about, I know this is old now, but I didn't get a chance to comment on it when it was fresh off the presses because I had business to take care of. Like I said, I'm on dialysis and I got a bunch of doctors I got to see and blase this and blase that. Okay, not only that, my son just told me how to delete the videos on this phone and I didn't have enough storage. Okay, I want to say what I think. Barry Hearn within the last year have been slipping and saying some very unusual things for a promoter, a businessman to say about his fighters and about his practices. I think Barry Hearn may be suffering from forgetting Alzheimer's or some aging, neurological aging disease such as that. Why else? I mean, I don't know how Barry Hearn was years ago when he was younger, but I just don't see him. Obviously, I don't think that he talked that way when in his earlier years. So when you see a person older like that begin to speak that way, some people think that, or when people get older, they just speak their mind. That is true. But in this case, where there's millions of dollars on the line, and where being discreet is tantamount to your business being successful, and with your son with his back up against the wall trying to compete in a more competitive boxing arena, for you to let these things slip out, the things you say slip out. First, you let it slip out that you told Joshua to marinate the fight between him and Wilder. You came out and said that, when a lot of people was blaming Eddie Hearn and Joshua for ducking the fight and for trying to let it marinate, and you came out and said, yeah, that's what you were doing. Number one, that doesn't seem too sane to me. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Then what you said about the slavery thing, and you have a lot of black fighters signed to you, and you come out and say something like, in the past, you promoters gave your fighters a slave contract, and then now you have to call Dillan Whyte sir because he was, I guess you were trying to insinuate he was the first one to not accept your contract of binding fighters for years and years, and he only gave you fight for fight contracts. You say stuff like that with social media and especially a press conference for a big fight coming up, you pretty much hung yourself as far as your son Eddie trying to do business in the United States. Don't you know the history and legacy of slavery in this country? And maybe in England, you guys don't understand or feel it like we do. But here in the United States, talk like that is enough to turn the fans, the black fans and viewers, and the more leftist liberal SJW, what is social justice warrior types, totally against you. Also turn the fighters that you want to bring into Matchroom against you. Talking like that, I doubt you'll ever get any really prospective fighters in your stable from the United States. Now, Dillan Whyte defended you, and I'm surprised at that because he's a Jamaican, and Jamaicans went through some of the harshest slavery that it was. here in the Western Hemisphere. Jamaicans was using the sugar cane, and they would use up whole arrivals from Africa in 7 years. They'd be dead, and they go and they didn't care because they go and bring back a boatload more, and they use them up till they die too, and then they go get a boatload more. So black life meant little to any of these people, and the United States or the Caribbean or South America, but especially more in places like Jamaica, because like I said, they would just work you till you died, which is normally a 7-year period. That was the average. The people died because sugarcane work is one of the most dangerous in the world that there is. In America, North America proper, United States proper of America, slave masters tended to try to, it really was like they were farming. It was like a farm where they were reproducing their own slaves in-house. Or, plantations would have slaves they kind of champion families amongst. I know this is, believe it or not, they want their slaves to have a lot of them, not all. They want their slaves to have families so that the slave population would grow in-house, and so they wouldn't have to go, because the importation of slavery for Africans, slaves from Africa, was outlawed in it was 1808 by the British. And the British had ships, the best ships on the ocean, that they had the best navy too, and they controlled the seas at the time. So any ship trying to bring slaves in had to outmaneuver British man of war ships. Also, I think America outlawed the trafficking of Africans in 1808 from Africa to America as well. But they did not, of course, outlaw slavery. All the stuff that black folks went through in slavery, and our ancestors and us we went through, we still affected today. That's why niggas act so crazy. But anyway, all the stuff we went through for Eddie Hearn to say what he said, Barry Hearn to say what he said, something's got to be wrong with that boy's head. Like I say, I think he has early onset, not early onset, but I think this is the early onset of Alzheimer's or something like that. I wouldn't call it early onset, because that means you have to be like about 40 or something, or 30 or 50 when it starts. But this man is probably upper of 70. And yeah, he's acting like he has early stages of Alzheimer's. His fighters, Dillan Whyte, have to protect him, and his son have to protect him. But the British, they act as though they don't understand the full ramifications of what Barry Hearn said, or maybe they're just trying to protect Barry Hearn. Dillan Whyte, I guess Barry Hearn is paying him to be his enforcer or whatever, paying him well. Or maybe he liked that Barry Hearn paid him a compliment within what he said about slave contracts and fighters. Maybe Dillan Whyte is like, like the favorite nigga on the plantation. When the master favored him, no matter what the master did, he always had an excuse for the master, because he was a favorite slave. That's what I look at Dillan Whyte as. Favorite slave. Okay, folks, that's about it on what I got to say about that. Enough has been said about it in media, on YouTube and such. I say what I have to say. I'm going to leave it alone. Peace.